I think we have this working. How are you doing, besties and bosses? I apologize. I'm a couple minutes late. This is actually, you will laugh at why we are a couple minutes late. I was on time. I'm like, why is my camera not working? It's like black. And I have a camera we use when we go live, like a little Logitech camera. I'm like, why is this not working? It's just like a black screen. I'm like I like did all the technical things, y'all. It was just not plugged. The cord for my computer was just not plugged into my camera. Like that's all that wasn't working. But apparently really simple things like that take me a minute to figure out. I can map out your whole business strategy, no problem, in a 45-minute call, but figuring out what's going on with a piece of technology is very complicated for me. All right, let me pull myself up here. Great. So I can see myself. I'm looking forward to this conversation with y'all. I hope this will be valuable for you. This is something I get asked by, gosh, so many people. And so I thought it would be great to have a conversation around here and to support you with the exact strategies I use to hold and serve 20 to 25 one-on-one clients without burning out. Before we dive into this conversation, before we dive into this conversation, we have a fun giveaway today. If you join me live and just leave me a comment, say hello. I always want to bribe you to be here with me. I am giving away one strategic scaling planning session to someone. I love getting to give away free coaching sessions when I have the capacity, and from time to time we'll offer those, but I honestly overbooked myself with those, so we haven't been able to offer them much. So this is a way that I can give at least one of you a free session and get to connect with you. So I'm looking forward to giving that to someone. You just have to comment, and if you're someone I haven't had the opportunity, we'll leave this for new people that I haven't had the opportunity to support before. We will reach out to you and let you know if you win that. And it feels very fitting since we're talking about one-on-one, or we're talking about serving clients and being full with clients today. The reason I wanted to give you that and to bribe you for this conversation in particular is I do think this is such an important conversation, whether you want a one-on-one business or a one-to-many business. If you're not a one-on-one coach, but you're running group programs or memberships, you're still holding large numbers of people. And one of the biggest things I find for clients, and one of the biggest things clients are bringing to me, is just what can happen as you grow and as you scale. We talked about this in 20K Months Multiplied, the master class, is just with your capacity, how important it is to be aware of your capacity and how do you continue to hold and serve more clients. Obviously, if you're a one-on-one coach, you have a limit on that. And how do you do that without burning out? And how do you do that and still continue to serve people really well? So I'm hoping this conversation will support you, whether you're a one-on-one coach or a one-to-many service provider of any kind. I also know this is the question that most people ask me. My fully booked number is generally about 23 clients is my sweet spot. So I usually have between 20 and 25 clients. I know people always look at me like I have three heads when I say that. They're like, how do you effing have that many clients without frying? And people generally think either I'm working 24/7, which I'm not. The last couple of months I've been taking every Friday off. I've opened up some for coaching intensives because I want to, but people think I work 24/7. People think that I must just be miserable, or that I'm like a unicorn of some kind. And I put this in the email. I do think I'm a great coach. I have a healthy self-esteem around my business, but I'm no unicorn. But what I do have, and this is why I want to have this conversation, I have had to get clear on what my fully booked number is, what my capacity is, how I work best, and I've had to set up systems, processes, and have some really clear mindset strategies to be able to hold that number of clients and to do so without burning out. So that's what we're going to dive into today. Now, I'm going to give a preface here. Let me pull up I actually made a couple notes that I want to make sure, a couple things I want to make sure I cover. One of the things I want to preface before we dive into this: if you are a one-on-one coach, please do not walk away from this conversation hearing that the goal for you or fully booked is to have 20 to 25 clients. That is ludicrous. I know very few people, in fact, probably only my coach is the only person I know who wants and holds that many clients. I do not know very many people who want to hold that many one-on-one clients. I maybe can think of one of the clients on my roster where that's the business model they have, and that's what they want in their business. So that is my fully booked number, which is why that's in the title, what we're talking about. Yours might be 6 clients. Yours might be 8 clients. Yours might be 12, 15. The point here is not how do you get to 20 to 25 one-on-one clients. The conversation here is, what are the strategies that help you hold whatever your fully booked number is without burning out and still serving your clients really well. So please, 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 for the love of all good things, hear that part, because I just don't know very many people who that would be their fully booked number, and that's what they would want. And just for a little context, this feels really important to say as well, just to give context behind that number. I have one business, right? I don't have multiple businesses. This is the only thing I offer in my business. I don't offer group coaching. I don't offer a membership. I don't offer anything else. I am someone who likes my work and I like to work. So I do work I don't overwork, but I work a full schedule by choice, right? I could easily serve fewer clients in my business if I wanted to. I'm a stepmom, but I'm not a full-time parent with getting over something I caught this week. I have no idea what it was. I don't know if it's allergies or a cold, so don't mind my voice. But I don't have full-time responsibilities as a mom. So there's just a lot there for context as well around that number. So again, this conversation is not about how do you have that many clients. It's what are the strategies to hold clients, whatever the fully booked number is for you. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk through this. So there's 3 different parts that I want to speak through that I find are what really allow me to run and hold my business. Gosh, I hope my voice is gonna hold up for this. I might plug in my headset here just so you can hear me a little bit better, just in case my voice is going a little bit. Let's do this. This might help a little bit if my voice is a little bit lower, so it doesn't have to carry through to the speaker. But we're going to look at the practical systems and processes. We're going to look at mindset, and we're going to look at support outside of the business, or things like team or other forms of support, essentially delegating. I always want to talk mindset first, but I actually think the practical systems and processes might be the place for us to start, because this is something when I am supporting clients, and again, whether a fully booked number is 8 for them or they're looking at, expanding the number of people they're going to hold in their group program, for example. Oftentimes when I see clients are starting to get burnt out or overwhelmed, or they feel like they're at capacity, you'd be surprised. I work with the smartest people. I really do. Like I work with unicorn smart humans, but when you're in your business, it doesn't matter how smart you are. It's just so easy to just get into worker bee mode, doer mode, and to not realize all of the places you're kind of stuck in doing and stuck in employee worker bee mode, instead of having some clear processes and systems that simplify and buy you back your time. And so I have one client who comes to mind, really successful client who's making, they're making between, I think, 500K to 700K right now per year. They're at capacity. They serve a ton of clients. That is not their problem. They're great at all of the things, but one of the conversations we have often is coming back to some of the simple basics with their systems and their processes, and continuing to look at where do we need to put in a system, where do we need to put in a process, where are you not using, where are you bypassing that system or process, where are we essentially having you stuck in doing a bunch of manual labor that doesn't make sense or doesn't serve your business with the number of clients you're serving and holding. And so I'm going to give a couple examples here of what I mean by that. But I would say if let's say your fully booked number of clients is 8, but that feels like, that might feel, 8 clients is a lot of clients to hold. If that feels like, gosh, but how am I actually going to be able to hold that? We want to start to look at this, because if it feels like, gosh, it's going to be so much work to hold this many clients, that's also when we either subconsciously push away booking clients, right? Because it feels like it's too much to take on, and that will make it harder to bring in the revenue you want. And this is also when I see business owners chasing offers and models that they don't really want to sell, or they don't really. I just had a call with someone who we were talking about this, and she's been chasing sort of a more group, like a larger program. But the reason for it was more because of what we're talking about here. It just felt so hard to keep up with the one-on-one. But when we unpacked it, that's what she actually wanted. This other model was, in many ways, is way more work. But if you don't have systems and processes in place, and it feels so heavy to bring on and to serve a new client, of course you're going to want to chase something else, because that's going to feel a lot easier. So let me not go on a tangent there, but I just want you to see how if you don't have these things in place, it can create a lot of sabotage and have you actually push away booking clients. But okay, so let's go to practical systems and processes. This is maybe not a system and process, but this is one of the things I check in with myself and with clients. But know how you work and when you work best. And what I mean by that is, I know I like to work, and I know how many hours I like to work. I know how many hours I like to be on calls. I have some clients who just want to be on calls 3 days a week, for example. I know I actually tend to work best. If I'm having a work day, I do best with a client call, which is why if I open up a Friday, I want to have it intensive. Otherwise, I'm just going to, I don't know what I'm going to do all day, but it will not be getting work done. Am I going to lose my voice in the middle of this live stream? This is really funny. No, we're going to, I think this is going to work. We might have to cut this conversation short. We'll see how this goes. If you're live, though, say hi, let me know so that you can be entered to win the free strategic scaling session. But know how you work best, and then know what times a day you work best. This, again, this seems like such a simple, obvious thing, but I know I'm not a super early morning person. And I have clients all over the country. I know it would be so easy, and because the number of clients I have, I could easily get on sessions at 7 a.m. and that would make my clients really, really happy. And I love you, clients, if you're hearing this. I won't do that though, because I know that's not when I function best. That's not when I serve best. I'm not going to deliver the best work to my clients. And so I just don't even make that an option or an availability for my clients. If you're a client of mine, you know that I will open up a select number of 9 a.m. calls, and everybody else, we start from 10 a.m. past, because that's when I function best, which means I can do my best work and serve best. But it also then makes it easier, right? Like to hold that number of clients and to do great work and to really serve. And I think in many times, I over deliver in many cases, but that feels really good and easy for me because I'm working in the times and in the way I work best, as opposed to trying to make myself fit for what works best for every other human in the world. And I think especially with one-on-one, that's really important. But if you're running groups as well, that's something to really think about. Hey, Claire, nice to see you. Nice to have you on. Do you like how my voice is just like going? So that's just really simple and basic there, but I think that is one of the things that people don't always give themselves permission for. And it's sometimes the simple things that will blow your mind as to how much they will change your life. I had one client where we time blocked her schedule. She's like, I cannot believe how much something simple like time blocking and like just setting my schedule up to work for me, how that has just literally changed. She's like, that has just changed my whole entire fucking business and life. And so again, these are like so simple, but it's just so hard when we're in the day-to-day motion of things that we don't realize that. The second thing I'm really big on with clients, and then we'll go into the actual systems processes, but is really starting to be mindful of screening for right fit clients. I talk so much about right fit clients, not because I came up with a fun term to talk about, but because I just see how much it impacts every part of your business. And the more you're focusing your messaging, your marketing, and your sales process to pre-qualify the right people for your offer, so that you're bringing people into your offer who really are the right fit, the easier everything gets. Look, every business is going to have people who slip through the cracks who aren't the right fit. And right fit, by what I mean is they're really the right fit for the problem you solve, the solutions you help deliver, and in terms of the values you hold is maybe the best way for me to say that. We're not talking about humans who are like perfect humans who, never have resistance or don't have things come up, right? Like that's not what I'm talking about when I say right fit, but really right for your offer and the way you work, and that you're in alignment with the way you see the way you're going to approach whatever that problem is that you solve. When you have the right fit clients, when you have the right people in your programs, business becomes so much easier. I've been coaching for 10 years. I've been in business for 8. And I can tell you, I have had times where my roster has been much smaller, where I was either getting fully booked or where I didn't have the capacity because I didn't have the team support or something, or I was still at my 9 to 5. And so maybe I had 12 clients and I had some clients I was still learning what my right fit clients were. And it felt so much heavier because the people I was working with, I could support them, but they really weren't the right fit for my work. I mean, nothing will make your business feel heavier than clients who aren't the right fit. So it's almost a whole another live stream and conversation there, but it felt important to speak to because I often have conversations with clients and they're making themselves so wrong and feeling like they're doing something like they should be able to handle this better, or something different should be going on, and like what's wrong with them as a business owner, why does this feel so hard in their business? And it just turns out that there's a misalignment, and that's so different than in a personal relationship. If you're friends with or in a partnership with someone I'm doing this because my husband's in the other room, so that's, I don't know why anybody watching this would know that, but Just so you know what that hand reference was. But if you're in a partnership with someone who's a really great fit, right, things just feel so much easier. If you're in relationships with people that aren't really the right fit, if you have a bunch of friends with misaligned values who all want to do completely different things than you, even if they're the best humans in the world, but there's just that misalignment, it's going to feel hard and heavy and draining. As opposed to if you're like, oh, these are my people, right? Everything just feels so much easier. So again, I know these are very simple things, but I cannot speak enough to how allowing yourself to let the simple things work for you make a difference in your business and withholding and serving more clients. In terms of practical systems and processes here, and then we'll get into the mindset, so that's probably the bigger part. What I think is so important to remember, especially with a one-on-one business, I think when you have a group or when you have a larger program, this tends to be something you're really thinking a lot more about process system, because usually we add on some sort of one-to-many component in your business when you're looking to scale. I think with my other clients who have one-on-one based businesses, I think sometimes the mentality can almost be like, well, it's one-on-one, so I don't need to think about the things to scale, which is wild to me, but and this is where our brains can get to. And I still need to be thinking in that whole, like, I just do everything. This is bespoke, so I do everything bespoke in my business. Look, I think I have a very bespoke business. I am hands-on with my clients. I tailor everything. I have clients in completely different industries, niches. What I'm supporting one client with, I had a couple calls already this morning. It could not be more different from client to client. I mean, obviously there's overlaps, but very different. I over deliver quite a lot because I want to. We'll talk about that later. I like to. I want to. Otherwise, I wouldn't. I'm very clear on the difference there. But I'm able to do all of that. So that is very specific to each person. What I don't want to do, if I'm spending all of that time basically creating a different offer for each person, is I don't want all of the things that are the same for each client to be reinvented and for me to have to reinvent the wheel, because that's going to be a lot of time and energy that is wasted and that is very draining. And so the service, the work is bespoke, but everything else, I've really worked to make sure there's a process and a system around, and that we're either automating it or it is as simplified as possible, so that I'm not spending an extra 15, 20 minutes every time I have a different client to recreate that part of the process of their offer. So I'm going to explain what I mean by that. But that's things like systemizing booking calls. Again, these are simple things, but simple things that are just so easy to miss. Systemizing or putting a process around if someone needs to reschedule a call, if someone misses a payment, how is team going to notice that and reach out and address that? If someone has a question around something, right, how is that getting addressed? How do we onboard clients? How do we offboard clients? How do we collect testimonials? All of these different things that go on with client delivery, we have taken the time and we have created a process and a system around all of this so that myself and my team know, and we are not recreating the wheel for every single client. And I think this is, again, one of those things when you hear that, we're like, oh, well, of course, duh, Kim. And I'm just always amazed at how often when I'm supporting clients, I'm not amazed, I shouldn't be amazed. I mean, this is something I had to learn for myself as well. Like there were so many things where I'm like, oh, right, we don't have a process around collecting testimonials. That's probably something we need to put a process and a system around. Oh, right, we don't have a process around how we send out client gifts. We probably need to create that. I think we don't realize how many moving pieces there are in a simple one-on-one business, and how much opportunity there is to really streamline the lift it is to onboard a client and to serve them. And so I'm not going to go like overly in detail around any of those unless someone has a question, just because it might be kind of boring otherwise. But what I would say is, what I really look at with my clients when this is one of their challenges is going through every aspect of client delivery and just looking at is every aspect of that is there, unless it's literal one-on-one time. Do we have a clear process and system around this? And then what parts of those don't need to be managed by you? Is there either an automation or a tool that can help you handle this? Or if you have team support, is this something that can be handed off to team? If not, later on, that's something we want to bookmark to be able to hand off to team. So that is, I cannot, I know this is like the not sexy things in business, but I cannot speak enough to how much sanity that will bring you in your business if you start to look at that. I cannot even imagine how underwater I would feel otherwise every time I bring on a new client, for example, as opposed to it feeling very seamless and easy. Okay. The other things here with this kind of goes back to the capacity schedule things and knowing how you work best. Two pieces that I often work on with clients and that I recommend, and I think this is something that is very easy when you're in scarcity to ignore because you're like, I just need to do whatever I need to do to bring in clients, and then afterwards I'll like figure this out. And I really, really would invite you to think about how this is what actually helps you create abundance and sustainability in your business and the success you want is looking at scheduled time blocks for client sessions, non-client session work for everything you're doing in your business. And I'm gonna talk about this briefly just because there's a big mindset component I want to talk to, but I'll use myself as an example. I have scheduled time blocks for all of my client sessions happen in one time block. When I'm going in to check in with clients in Basecamp or between session support, that's a scheduled time block. When I'm going to work on my content or hop on live, right? That's a scheduled time block. The reason for this is not because I want to have a super scheduled life. I'm a freaking creative ex-actress. It's not like I like love schedules. It's that I know there are certain things in my business that have to be done to both serve my clients really well, to hold them without burning out, and to move my business forward. And if I try to just do like a client session here and then hop on a live stream and then do some Basecamp work and then edit some clients' content and then have another client session, the amount of context switching that is happening in my brain would make me so inefficient and probably would lead to burnout. They've done studies on this. Every time you switch from context switching basically means from one task to another. It takes your brain about 15 minutes to recalibrate and to refocus, and you temporarily lose IQ points every time you context switch, which is why I have my phone here so that I can have my calculator and stuff for clients, but I keep it on airplane mode and won't check social media or won't check anything. I don't even have access to clients on my phone because I know otherwise it would be so easy, just even when I'm like, say, working on a piece of content, or if I was, let's say, talking with a client, we did need to open up my phone to like get the calculator to figure out some math on some pricing for them. Just even seeing other things going on and pinging, that would be a context switch and would have me temporarily lose focus. And that just, it really crushes your productivity, your creativity. But I do think over time that leads to burnout, because if, let's say that what I just listed, like 5 different tasks you could have there in the day for your business, if you're ping-ponging back and forth between those, let's say all of those 2 times, so that's 10 times per day, and 15 minutes times 10, oh my gosh, I said I had a calculator here, let's do the math on that. 15 minutes times 10, 15 times 10, that's 150 minutes of basically lost focus time in your day that you also have a temporarily lower IQ. Like, I'm not here for that. So that's why it's not that, again, it's not like I'm like, time blocking is so cool and fun. Like, frankly, I hate I don't necessarily love that, but I love what it does for my business. I love what it does for my ease. I love what it does for my brain. I love what it does to make things work really smoothly and easily. And so I time block, but I also batch similar tasks together. So unless I have a client, who really needs a session at a specific time, all of my sessions are batched together and all of similar types of work are batched together. And that means I can be more efficient. I can get more done in less time. I can be literally smarter because I'm not losing the temporary IQ points, and I can be more focused. But it also just feels a lot easier on my nervous system. And I find it's really easy because then I can see, oh, there's room and time for everything in my day. I don't have to stress that it's going to get done. And if someone needs something, I can see if there's any available time. Otherwise, I just know that there's not. So that I find to be a huge, huge saver on my brain. And then similar with that, I have very specific containers for communication with clients. And this is something I really, really recommend. I'm sure many of you who are coaches already have this, but if you don't, I use Basecamp for my client communication, but I have a very specific container for where clients can reach me, for where team can reach me, for where my friends can reach me. And I find, again, for a similar idea with the context switching, I find that to be very helpful if you're holding a lot of people. If I have clients who have a group program, it's the same idea if they have a Facebook group that they're going to have all of their clients hang out in, or if they have a different container where all of their clients are going to meet. What this means is you're not chasing messages and communication around from people in all sorts of different places. You have it all in one place, but it also means for you, you're not going to, on your off time, get messages from your clients, whether that's in your group program or your one-on-one, from different places. You know that if you want to check in with clients, there's one specific container. You're not going to miss messages, and you can do that when you have the time, the brain space, and the focus for it. And then when you step out of that, right, you can close that out. And then let's say you're in your text messages, right? That's just gonna be friends and family, and not you're not gonna have that context switching or feel like you're having those things infiltrate your brain that are work related when you're in your off time. And I think that's a really healthy and important boundary that both helps you avoid burnout, but it also really helps you to do, I think, to serve clients better, again, whether it's one-on-one or group, because you're really showing up in those containers when you intentionally have the bandwidth to do so, as opposed to that sort of like reactionary response that can happen if you just have messages coming into email or into text message or some other container. And I'm very big with clients on thinking about how do we really have intentional ways we're showing up. That's where you do your best work versus being in that reactive mode everywhere. Just okay, no question. I got one more piece here on this kind of more systems process side, and then I'll speak mindset, because mindset's probably the bigger piece. But now my voice seems to be back too, which is great. The last piece here that I will say I find is really important, I was just talking about this with a client yesterday, is really understanding how many new clients you can onboard at any given time. And I say this because I think sometimes when you're looking at, again, your fully booked number might be very different than mine. But if you have spots you want to fill in your business, or if you have spots opening up, right, this is normal for every business ever. If you have a one-on-one model, you are going to have spots to fill that will open up and that will fill. If you have a group program, you're going to probably have more of a launch model, but you'll have spots that open up and fill, right? This is a normal thing. But I think it's really important in terms of the sustainability of your business and the, again, to avoid burnout, but also part of avoiding burnout, what I always think about is it's my job to avoid burnout so that I can really show up for my clients' investments and really show up to serve them with my 100%. I think that's just so incredibly important. I mean, that's what people are paying for. And what I think about with how many clients you can onboard at any given time, I think so often brains get into scarcity when you have spots to fill. It's just like, how can I book as many clients as possible to reach my fully booked number? And I really hold myself to knowing it. Yes, there's my fully booked number, and that's my responsibility to keep my business full. But I would rather take a temporary pay cut if I had to versus onboarding more clients than I can sustainably onboard at a given time. If that's going to be, a detriment to how I show up to serve someone, how I'm able to hold someone, or what that means in terms of my capacity in my business. And so I'm very clear. Of course, this is something you learn over time. Like, one of the reasons I'm clear on this is I've accidentally been overbooked before, but I'm really clear on how many new clients I could onboard at any given time and how many I'll allow myself to onboard anytime. And we'll push clients out if I need to otherwise, even if there's technically room on my calendar, just like I'm clear on how many sessions I can have in a given day, and show up fully for. So even if someone wants a session, I technically have an hour in my day. I won't break that agreement I have with myself, because I just see what a difference that makes for your ability to hold clients, to show up and serve them really well, right? To honor their investment, but also then that builds trust with yourself, and that helps you see that you can sustain this, you can hold this, which helps you avoid burnout, which helps you to want to keep bringing on clients, right? There's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy there as well. And long term, if you do learn how to onboard in a pace that is really sustainable for you, that also means you don't have, you sort of avoid the feast and famine cycles in your business, because you don't get yourself into a pattern where it's like, oh, I need to book all of these clients right now, and then all of them are up for renewal, which means you have to onboard all of them at the same time, serve them all at the same time, then fill all of those spots at the same time. So I find overall there's, just in terms of the sustainability in your business, spacing out that onboarding and not just trying to like onboard a ton of new clients all in 1 week is also just really beneficial for you long term in your business, because it just makes it a lot easier to keep yourself fully booked. I hope that made sense. It's almost like hard for me to explain that without like looking at a calendar with someone, but I hope that that part made sense. Okay, let's talk mindset here. 3 main things come up for my mindset. There's lots, obviously, but I'm trying to think where I want to start with time here on these. The first thing I'm going to say here, I think this one feels so important, and I think this is something that so many people, if you're struggling, if you're feeling overwhelmed by your business, don't realize is what it's really about. Is so often I find when a client, I'm just trying to think of how I want to frame this. I'm going to frame it this way. I think one of the reasons it feels honestly really easy for me to hold 20, 25 clients. I've had more clients before, and I just don't want to work that much. Otherwise, I don't think I'd burn out. I think I'd just be working more than I want to, quite honestly. But one of the reasons that doesn't feel overwhelming to me, I mean, I like to work, and again, I do this full time and all of that. But one of the reasons is I'm really clear on what my role is as a coach in the coach-client relationship, and I'm really clear, and like I just trust my work in the coaching container is enough, and that is what someone's paying for, and I'm clear on what that is, so I don't create extra work and extra stress for myself. I find a lot of times when my clients are feeling burnt out, it's not just about the work they're doing, but it's about the level of stress they're creating around their work not being good enough, and the amount that'll either have them do like to overwork or to overthink. But a lot of times it's like the pressure and the stress and the like, this isn't good enough, and it's the like second guessing, and that creates either literally physical like time work, or it creates just the pressure that leads to burnout more than the actual time spent on client sessions or something creates burnout. Like I could be on calls all day. Like I love calls more than anything. Like I love my clients. So like that's not a problem. But if I was then after all of my calls stressing out and thinking like, did I do enough? Was that good enough? Like, am I actually a good coach? Like if all of that was coming out, like that would feel very, very heavy. Right. And so then that would be multiplied by however many clients I have. Like that would be exhausting. And so that part there, right? Like I just see for so many people how the work is less. How do you like figure out how to do like technically less work or fewer calls, and more how do you trust yourself that the work in those calls is good, that you are good enough, that you're already good enough, that what you're delivering is valuable, right? And that you also don't have to gild the lily, so to say, and like throw in all of this extra stuff to make your work valuable. With that, because I know I mentioned over delivering, I like to over deliver. It feels really good, and my gifts are one of my business love languages. But like, it feels, I just love what I do, and I love my clients, and so I love to over deliver. But the way I'm able to do that without burning out is I'm also very, very clear on what is over delivering and what is overworking, because I'm not feeling good enough, right? And those on the, if you don't know the difference, the actual work can look the same, right? It's the mindset and the fuel behind that work that makes all of the difference. And so I'm just very clear on that difference. And I know over delivering is a choice. I don't have to over deliver. I do that because I want to. So there's lots of times like on the weekend, I don't have to check in with, like technically in my contract, like I am off on the weekend. It feels really good to over deliver, for me to check on my clients and respond to their messages. But I'm very clear that's an over delivery. And I'm very clear if I don't want to do that, I don't have to do that. Right. And I'm very clear that's coming from the place of like, it feels good to over deliver and I want to do that. And if I didn't want to, that would also be okay. And I could step, I could not do that. And that just has me do something because it feels good versus a like should, or I'm not good enough otherwise. Whereas I've had clients where we worked on this and we've realized they're doing a lot of things because they feel like they're supposed to, or they're like worried that their work isn't good, and like that, yeah, if they're not messaging more, I have one client who comes to mind. We've done a ton of work around this in terms of her between session support with clients because I was feeling really heavy, and it turned out there was just a lot where she felt like unless she was just like really in there like 24/7 with clients, like they weren't getting enough value, right? And so it wasn't over delivering because she wanted to, or even because it made sense for the container. So much of that was coming from that place of feeling like her work wasn't worthy or good enough, and so it was really a mindset piece we had to work on once she started seeing, oh no, what I'm doing is more than good enough, right? She could release that a little bit and she didn't actually have to show up so much, and she saw how much more her clients got, because oftentimes we hold our clients and give them back their power and trust that they can do it they need to do with our support. They get so much further without us being in there 24/7 anyway. Hey Alyssa, nice to see you. Kate says, totally used to exhaust myself out by having calls and then to worry that I didn't do a good job. The more I coach, the less I do this, but it was totally exhausting. Thank you so much for normalizing that, Kate, and for saying that, because it's exactly that. And I think it's just so helpful to see, Kate, that just to use you as an example, because you're saying that, it's not like it was the number of clients you had that was exhausting. It was that probably every client you had, if then you're worrying about each client, let's say you have 5 clients, so you have 3 client calls in a day and you're worrying about each of them, right? Like that turns into like 6 hours of client calls if you're spending all of that time worrying about them and thinking you didn't do a good job. And that's the piece there where, again, no one needs to have 20 to 25 clients unless they want to. But that's the piece there where I see the less that I am taking on, the more I trust myself as a coach, the more I know this work is good enough, the more I can leave the work in the container, the less I take on, right? The easier it is. It's like, yes, it's my time. I have to literally show up on the calls, obviously, and like literally show up to the thing. So there is a cap on capacity in that way. But the less likely it's going to lead to burnout, because that's all stuff that feels really good and a joy, versus what leads to burnout is that like heaviness, that stress, that pressure, that anxiety, that, oh my gosh, am I fucking things up, feeling we can have. So, okay, I just so appreciate you saying that. I almost feel like if there was nothing else, like I think that's the piece there. I would say like is the secret in air quotes to holding clients, serving them well, to expanding your capacity and not burning out. But I also would really invite everyone to check in with just seeing, do you know the difference between overworking and over delivery, right? Over delivery is because I want to, and over delivery is being very clear that this is not something I'm required to do. This is because I want to do it, right? That like that it is a choice. And is that a choice you're making because you want to, or because you think if it's coming from the place of like, because I think I'm not good enough, because I think my client's going to leave otherwise, because I think I suck, because I think I didn't deliver enough, because I don't think my work is worth my price tag, right? That's actually getting you into the overworking place, right? That's coming from this place of, no, we need to come back to the mindset of how do we get you trusting in your work, trusting that it's enough, right? That's the big piece there. This piggybacks really beautifully into the other piece that I have done a lot of work around. It comes really second nature to me now, but this was not the case for me at the start of my coaching practice at all. And that's, we've talked about this before, but I think it's just so important to speak to, is the difference between caring for clients and their results and carrying clients and their results. And if you haven't heard me talk about this before, I will explain the difference between that. I care about my clients so much. I love my clients. It sounds so cheesy, but I just do. I love my people. I like adore them. I have become friends with many of them. I have clients who've worked with me for years. If you're a client of mine, you know I freaking cry on calls for your wins over the silliest things sometimes, right? Like I care for my people so much. I am a bleeding heart of a human being. I am a sensitive soul, all of those things. And what I have really learned to do in my coaching practice and and I support clients with this as well, is really learning how can I care so deeply about my clients, but also not carry and take on responsibility for their business, responsibility for their results, and just take on the stuff they're going through. Because if I have 20 to 25 clients at any given time, right, no matter how amazing my clients are doing, they're coming to me because this is a container I've created for them to share their stresses and their problems. And, you know, someone's got something going on personally in their life, and someone is having a breakdown because a launch is going a weird way, right? Like, this is why I have a job. Someone else is stressed about finances, right? Like, there's all of these different things going on. If I took all of that on, and if I took, because I think sometimes what we do as coaches is we see that as a badge of honor. This is a way I can show I care, right? I can show I care by taking on all of my people's stuff. I would be a broken human being, right? Like I would need so much therapy, it wouldn't even be funny. I need enough therapy for my own stuff. I don't need it for my clients because I'm taking their stuff on as well, right? I would be exhausted and drained, and I probably would overwork and not over deliver because I would just feel so responsible for everything in my clients' businesses. Now, this gets sticky because what I want to be very clear is I am absolutely responsible to show up as a coach fully for my clients, so to show up and to deliver 100% with my work, with my coaching, with like what I'm able to do. But there's no way I can take on responsibility for all of my clients' stuff and take on all of their stuff, right? That wouldn't be helpful for anyone. But one of the metaphors, I don't know who has used this, but I've heard in the therapy world they call it caring, not carrying, not taking on. And the way I like to think about it, I wish I knew how to give credit for this but I think about this as if there's someone who's in the water and they're flailing around and they're like potentially drowning. If you jump in the water with them, right? If you're like, I'm going to show them how much I care, I'm going to go in and save them, and you jump in the water with them, you're just going to be pulling on each other and you're both going to drown together, right? But if you can be the person who's calm and cool and collected, who's like, I care so much that person is in the water and they're flailing. I care so much, but I know the best way I can support them is not to try to go and save them and to like literally take this on and like try to swim back to shore. We're pretending we're like out in the middle of the ocean here. The best thing I can do is to care so much that I stay calm and cool and collected. I don't take on their stress. Then I have a cool collected head and I can say, oh, let me throw you a life raft. Or, oh, you're actually in 2 inches of water, freaking yourself up. Just stand up, right? There's so many different solutions I can do to help you actually not drown. And so obviously no one's drowning in their businesses in my coaching practice, but that's just always been a helpful way for me to think about it, where it's like I just can offer my clients so much more support if I care so much about them without caring and taking on and like trying to save them. Like no one needs me to fucking save them. That's also just like so gross in so many ways. No one wants me to take their power away from them, right? Like my job is to keep giving my power back to their clients. No one wants me to take their personal responsibility away from them. My job is to keep giving that back. But that doesn't mean I don't have responsibility as a coach. I think that's where it gets sticky in our space, right? I think our space can get a little toxic sometimes where it's like, I have no responsibility as the coach. And it's like, yes, just pay me all this money and I have zero fucking responsibility. That is not what I mean at all. I think of this very much as how can I have full responsibility for myself as a coach and show up fully for my clients and their investment and the coaching container, but to know that part of that responsibility is really doing my own internal work to be calm and neutral and not take on any of my clients' stuff so that I can be the one who's on dry land, so to say, to really offer support in the way that's most beneficial instead of like trying to prove I care so much by getting caught up in the thrashing waters with them. Hopefully that analogy makes sense, but that is I would say one of the biggest gifts I've given to myself in my business, because probably my first year in business, I had fewer clients, but I do think I just took on a lot of my clients' stuff. I think kind of to what Kate was saying is I used to go to bed at night, like literally up at night, just like worrying about all of my clients and everything they had told me. Like I'm a bleeding empath. Like I just took it all on. And that's just something I've had to really work that muscle around. I think I've just gotten really great at it. And I think that is one of the and like if you're a client of mine, this is probably something I support you with. If we have time, I'll share a tool that I give my clients around this. But I think this is just one of those things that as a coach, again, whether you're serving one-on-one or if you're in a group program, is one of the biggest gifts you can give yourself. But it's also one of the biggest gifts you can give your clients, because I almost feel like this is going to sound fucked up, but it's just the truth. And we're going to be as transparent as possible here because I think it's just helpful for everyone. I have just found the more I care about my clients as humans, again, it's ridiculous how much I love my clients. Like I was going to hold up my notebook. I have my little, like where I do my affirmations and my journaling. My clients make it in there. Like I write affirmations for my clients. Like I just love my people that much. I think they're all brilliant. Like I love them so much. And I also realize like the more I care about them, but the less I actually care about them outside of session and care about their results. Like I care about the results, but like the less I take them on, the better results they get. And I think that's just all the evidence you almost need. It's like what helps your clients get the biggest results. What helps them get the biggest result is not getting jacked up about their results. And so that has just been helping me see that evidence in my clients' results, especially since we do revenue share. I can really see that has just supported the mindset around this. So I know this part here isn't necessarily the easiest thing for everyone to do, but I would say if it's feeling heavy in your business, or if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'd have more clients without burning out, but I want more clients, I would invite you to check in and see if maybe this is the area to do some work. And if we have time before we close out, I'll share the exercise. If not, maybe I'll do another live stream around that. The last piece here, I'm just going to talk on this real quickly so that I'm not keeping you all for like a 90-minute masterclass. But let me know if you have questions or if you want any reflections around this, y'all, before I jump on to the next piece. The last piece here I'll just say real quickly is, I think this is just another really obvious one, but boundaries. I've just done the work to have really healthy and good boundaries. And what I'll say with boundaries is, this picks up a little bit on what we were just saying. I see boundaries as both energetic and practical, like physical boundaries. So energetic is kind of what we were saying in terms of not taking on what's not mine. But I also have just created, I do not know. I've been like fighting something all week. I keep thinking it's allergies or it's going away, and then clearly, like, if you've had a client session with me this week, you know I'm just like, am I sick? Am I not sick? I don't even know. I feel fine, but I keep having like weird throat stuff. So boundaries. One thing I just have a ritual around, this is again one of these like really simple things, but I really just practice closing out my workday at the end of the day. I don't do this anymore because it's sort of ingrained, but I used to have like a little mantra I wrote where it's like something like, I'm good enough. I've done enough work. Like my work today is done, and it's more than good enough, and it will be here in the morning for me to pick up, or something like that. I forget exactly how it was, but I would, mentally close everything out, write my to-do list for the following day, say my little like write out my little affirmation mantra. It sounds cheesy, but it's ingrained now. I did the work, and then shut everything down. And I do that just so that it's like, so that I can like leave work, like leave client stuff in Basecamp and in client work, and then that way it's not bleeding into my personal life. I think one of the things that can really create burnout is kind of what Kate was mentioning and what we were just talking about, is when you do have more clients and then you're done with your sessions, you're done with work, but all through dinner, all through evening, all while you're watching TV, when you're out with your friends, when you go out to dinner, right? In the back of your head, you're like worrying about that one client, or you're worried about that one session you had. And so I find just having that boundary where it's like work stuff stays in work. Now I'm human, I'm not perfect, of course. Like from time to time, something will happen, or a client will be going through something particularly challenging, and that won't be the case. But, then I know that's something that either I need to go, like, this is why I have coaching support and therapy. So like either I need to go get some support around that, or this is something that like, it's an anomaly, like where someone's just going through something really hard and like that just happens. But I would say for 95% of the time, this is the practice I have, and it just really helps things just to feel separate and clean. And then similarly, I just also am really just big on like the practical boundaries, kind of like we were talking about with the containers for where clients can reach out to me or not reach out to me, or where team can reach out to me or not reach out to me, or when I have sessions, when I don't have sessions, but just overall those boundaries. I mean, boundaries could be, we could spend 16 live streams talking about boundaries. So I'll just have that as like a really short piece there. But I have found that to be just essential. The bigger, for all of my clients who are running multi 6-7-figure businesses, again, they're not all one-on-one businesses, but that are holding more capacity for clients in different size programs. I would say like the more success you have, the more boundaries become something that you just have to learn and master. And I'm sure lots of us think like boundaries aren't the most fun thing, but they are something you can learn and master, but they just become that much more important, because if you don't have them, like you don't have to create a story, but like you will burn out. And I think it's important to see then it's not because of the number of clients you're holding. Obviously, we all have a limited number of hours in the day, but if we're talking about group programs, it's often not the practical hours you're working and the number of clients. It's often things like boundaries aren't in check, or you're taking on more than you should, or you're overworking instead of over delivering, right? It's often these sorts of things that are creating burnout and overwhelm, less the actual like practical, like you can't handle that many clients, or there's too many people in your program. Right, but this just becomes like when we're talking about scaling your business, yes, you need, strategies to scale and to bring in more money, but these are the things that allow you to scale and hold that scalability sustainably without burning out. I do not have a single client who's scaling where these aren't conversations we're having, like not a single one. Kate says, makes so much sense. There's so much inner work about remaining neutral while serving people you genuinely care about. Love that care, but not carry. It is my favorite. I wish I could take credit for that saying. I do think it's just a general term from the therapy world, but I think it's just because, Kate, I know you care so much about your people. I think everybody in this group, I think it's sneaky about that is we all got into this work because we care so much about helping people, because we love our people. Like, I think all of us are bleeding empathetic, heart-centered human beings. Like, that's why we get into this type of work. But I think that's also why it's so important to learn and to see this is just a growth edge for all of us as well. I think like it's a continuum, right? Like, this isn't like, and then you get perfect at it. It feels very important to say, but I think the more we can see, you can care so deeply, but the best way to care so deeply and to support people is to do so without carrying. But it does feel very important to say all of this work is a continuum. I've got 8 years of practice, and and I still have to practice, and I still sometimes fall down and imperfect, and I need to go to my coach for support around it. But I also have 8 years of practice doing this, so it just makes it a lot easier at this point, and it will just get easier and easier with every year. And like as we bring in more to our capacity, as we stretch our capacity, I should say, generally we all have different edges that, we just get to keep working and expanding through. Okay. Last piece I will say, because I don't want to keep y'all forever, but the last piece I'll touch on really quickly here that just feels important to highlight is I think it would just be wild to say that I am holding that number of clients, or that anybody who's holding, again, your fully booked number might be 8 people, or you might be running a group program, whatever your expansion of capacity looks like. It would just be wild to say that I or anyone who is scaling their business is doing so alone, and that it's only about your mindset and it's only about systems and processes. Absolutely, right? Like, we need to have that in place. But I think just a big reminder here, like, yes, those mindset pieces, yes, the systems and processes, like, please give yourself those, like, 1,000%. But there's also support and an infrastructure behind me and behind any business that's scaling and that's expanding their capacity. And, that can look like so many different things for so many different people. But for one, I have a very supportive husband who, at this point, my business, we've retired him. So he acts, but I have a full-time husband support behind the scenes that's taking care of our home and like house care things that, someone else might not have that support. And I say that to normalize as well, because that's also how I'm able to hold that many clients. I'm sure if I didn't have that support, maybe my fully booked number would be 18 people or something like that. Right? I would not be able to hold that many clients without support behind the scenes, and not everybody has that. And so I think give yourself some grace as well, because I know the stories that can come up. But also, if you're looking to expand your capacity, or you're running a really big group program, right, remembering that if you don't have that kind of support, right, like, these are probably, I have clients where we've looked at, they need to hire on full-time people into their business, or hire on literally a house manager for themselves, right? Like, what kind of support is happening even just on the house, like home, like life, like feeding yourself, and like being a human that has like what you need in your house taken care of. And then also in the business, right, I have different team support. Obviously that has changed as my business has grown, and in some ways it's simplified over the last year or two. I think just because we've gotten our systems and processes down, that we've actually streamlined team a little bit. But we don't have to go into a whole conversation around this, but I think just knowing there is support aside from just me running all of the things, and I would not be holding the number of clients I do without that kind of support. On the team delegation side, I think what is helpful to highlight is one of the things I'm often thinking about is not only what am I investing in team support to help run the business, obviously that is like money generating actions that like keeps our pipeline full and keeps clients coming in the door. Obviously there's that, but I'm always looking at what buys me back time, because I am a one-on-one only business. Now for some of my other clients, maybe that's not their top concern, but I think for anyone scaling, time becomes your most valuable asset and commodity. Usually when you're growing your business, you you're kind of like giving up your own time to grow your business, right? Like that's the asset you have the most of. You usually have more time than you do money. And so you give up your time to grow your business. But as you're getting into scaling, it tends to flip flop, right? So you start to have more money than you do time. And so what I'm always thinking about is great. So now that things have flip flopped, right? Before I had less money, but I had more time. So I could use my time to make me money. Now it's the other way around. I can use my money to buy me back time. And so a lot of times with support with delegation, I'm also just looking at what are the things that buy me back time. And that's in and out of my business. And I think these are just maybe helpful things to hear because I don't think necessarily that's what you'd think, like, oh, this is how you avoid burnout, but it absolutely is. And so I do this like literally to like, I mean, ordering grocery delivery was one of the first things I delegated in my business because in New York City that just saves me an F ton of time. But I also like to this day, like the other day I went to go visit friends for dinner and I was like, well, I could just instead of taking the subway and doing all of this, I can just pay, it's kind of an exorbitant price. But I was like, I have the money to pay for an Uber where I can get two things. I can get some work done, but it's also a shorter trip. So both of those save me time. That is so worth the expense for me. And so again, not to go into a whole conversation around delegating because I'll almost like sidetrack our conversation here, but if it's helpful to hear the thought process around that, I am often looking at not like where we necessarily saving money, but how can I use my money wisely to buy back time? Because when I buy back time, right, I know that means I can serve, support my clients really well without burning out. And then I also am opening up time for myself outside of business because I'm not using that time then to do a bunch of random things in my business or commuting or going to get groceries, right? Like I can just use my time for serving my clients really well, creating content for y'all, and then enjoying my life. So if that is helpful to hear, that is how I think about that side of things, but it does feel important to speak to because I think otherwise I think it can also be very confusing when you're online because that's the piece most people you can't see the support someone has behind the scenes. And if you don't see the support someone has behind the scenes, whether it's a one-on-one business like mine, and I'm talking about 20 to 25 clients, or you've seen someone hold a group program with 1,000 people in it, or a membership, or whatever that is, I think it can very much seem like, oh, they must just be doing all of this on their own. And you rationally know they're not. You rationally know people have teams, but I think it's just so important to speak to that. But in order to be able to have the team support you or to be able to delegate or to buy back your time, we need those systems and processes and that mindset component, right? Like that all just works together as a beautiful trifecta. And that is how, whether you want one-on-one or group program, I think these are all the pieces where you can then start to see you get to decide what your fully booked is. You get to decide whether it's one-on-one or a group, but that's how you can expand your capacity without necessarily expanding the number of hours you're working. If anything, I think maybe this is the piece I'll close on, and maybe this is helpful for everyone to hear. I would say that, what's interesting, like trying to think of how to phrase this, I've taken back more content in my business over the last about year and a half. So in theory, I'm like working more than I was, so to say. And yet I'm still working fewer hours than I ever have in my business, even though we still have a roster of 25 clients. And so I think maybe that's just helpful to hear. But part of the reason for that is everything we're talking about here. I find the more you get your systems and processes in order, the more the mindset stuff's in order, the more all these pieces are working, the easier this can be. And so I say that because I think otherwise it sounds like we're just trying to figure out how to get more time to like make you work more. And what I want you to hear is evidence of I'm actually working less than I've ever worked before, which is why I've been able to open up like intensive spots and things like that. So I hope that is maybe relieving to hear, permission giving to hear. I don't know what the right word is there. Anyway, I hope this was valuable for you. I hope that this gave you some insights. Thank you for bearing, I just banged the microwave. Thank you for bearing with me and my, almost losing my voice halfway through our conversation. I hope that wasn't too distracting, but I hope hearing this was valuable for y'all. I personally think this is one of the most important conversations, maybe not the sexiest, but one of the most important conversations because knowing, I don't care how many clients you have, but knowing how to grow your business and to show up and serve your clients really well, that is what will keep you in business and keep you making money. And knowing how to do that in a way that's sustainable so you don't burn out is also what will keep you in business and making money, and also prevent you from sabotaging your business or wanting to push away clients. And so if you get this piece in place, right, like this is actually the foundation to continuing to make really great money in your business and to scale if you want to scale. If we don't have this in place, it's really tough to keep bringing in clients, right? Because you're not able to serve them well. It's also really tough energetically to keep bringing in clients because there's going to be a part of you subconsciously that doesn't want them because it feels overwhelming, or you're just going to get burnt out and want to burn your business to the ground. And so yes, this is maybe not the most sexy thing in the world. I think it's the sexiest thing because if you really focus on these pieces, it makes everything in business work for you, right? Like, especially if you have a one-on-one model, if you serve your clients well, you're set for business. Like, you get to have a really simple business and clients stick around. But if you're overworking and frying and burning out, right, like that's a really tough business to sustain, and you will probably end up riding those like highs and lows in business. So I hope that is helpful. Kate says, thank you as always. Hope your throat voice feels better. Thank you. I'm sure it will. Well, I just wish I knew what it was. I keep thinking I'm like, is it allergies? Is it cold? Maybe it's a cold, but anyway, I feel fine. I just keep having like funky throat things. But thank you for that. Thank you all for hanging with me. If you are looking for support, if you're hearing this and you're in the place in your business where you're either on the strategy side of things, you're like, I would like to know how to book out my roster or to book out my group program, and I need the strategy to actually get the clients through the door, to figure out how to bring in those right fit clients you talked about, or you're more at the place where you're like, I can see that this is starting to work, but I am starting to get a little overwhelmed. I don't have the systems and processes in place to hold my clients, or I'm a little worried about the mindset side of things because it's starting to feel really overwhelming and I'm in my head, and I really want to make sure that I am able to show up and serve my clients really well, but I want to learn how to expand my capacity so that I can sustain these results and then maybe set myself up to scale. That is what I support clients with all day, every day. That is what I'm excellent at. I've helped so many of my clients go from struggling to book clients to fully booked, but also from being at a place of like, I do not think I can like handle another client, to, oh my gosh, this feels so easeful in my business, and doubling and expanding their capacity and doubling their revenue without working more. I have one client who comes to mind. This is what we talk about today is a lot of the work we did. And when she came to me, I think she was making around 5K per month, and she just like could not see a path to making more. And last I checked in with her, I think she just had a 16K month. And this right here, what we talked about, like learning how to like hold more clients, like with the mindset side of it and having those systems and processes in place, this is literally what we worked on to open up her capacity. She's still working 3 days a week. She's not like she's burning herself out or working more, but these were all the pieces we put into place, and it's what allowed her. I mean, I guess that's more than doubling your revenue. That's tripling. That's like tripling. So she tripled her revenue, and she didn't change her strategy. What we changed was the back end component in terms of really looking at the capacity piece. So I think this is so important. Anyway, if that's the support you'd like, I will drop a discovery call link for you, and you're welcome to book a free call with me, and we can chat about what of my options. I have a coaching intensive and a 6-month coaching container, which one would be the best fit for you, and then some upcoming openings that I have. And seeing, do we have no other comments? Y'all, thank you for being here. I love y'all so much. And next week, hopefully I will have a normal voice. Bye.